10 years, 2 games, 12 expansions, and 23 seasons, the final shape for many was seen as Bungie's final chance. After years and years of ups and downs giving community whiplash, so have they done enough? Well, let's talk about it. The final shape is the conclusion to the Light and Darkness Saga, the story that Bungie had been building up to since 2014 and the release of Destiny 1. The campaign takes us on a journey through the Traveller Portal into the Pale Heart, a land where imagination is made whole and memories are twisted. With giant ghosts as part of trees with disembodied hands holding up the very bridge where our journey's guardians began, giving us without a doubt Bungie's most beautiful art direction to date. Defeating the Witness is the central hook, and the campaign to get there is arguably Bungie's best to date for Destiny. While not deviating too far from what we've seen in the past since Beyond Light, the final shape however avoids the new subclass tutorial story that plagued Beyond Light and Lightfall, by simply just handing the player the new prismatic subclass and one singular introductory mission. The rest is left for the player to discover on their own. The final shape for me rightly doesn't try to throw a ton of new concepts at the player, but instead focuses on the effects the events of the last 10 years have had on the core cast of characters that we've had since the beginning, and in many ways it feels like the grieving period the Vanguard wasn't allowed to have after losing Cade 6 in Forsaken. No one can talk about this campaign without talking about the heart and the soul of the Destiny franchise.
You sure shine bright back there, huh?
Cade.
The mystery of Cade 6 being alive again was something that was kind of hand-waved away in a lore tab in the season prior to the release of the final shape, and while I'm thankful that they didn't go down a more convoluted route, I feel it could have been handled slightly better, but ultimately the why for his return isn't important to the story at hand. But that's where my list of gripes comes to an end, as everything else the story delivers is Bungie firing on all cylinders. They don't fall into a nostalgia trap when they easily could have, and they don't bog the story down in needless exposition dumps. From the moment the player meets Cade during the first mission to the last, the final shape is a non-stop story with very few filler missions that get you to explore the world. Having very few filler missions ultimately allows the final shape campaign to fully embrace its own stakes and gives the love and respect that's deserved to a closing chapter to a 10-year saga.
I don't understand.
Destiny might not be a franchise that's wildly known for having a great cast of characters, but anyone who's stuck around long enough and paid attention knows that just isn't the case. Bringing the franchise full circle, we focus entirely on the Vanguard and the Witness. The arcs these characters go through aren't anything revolutionary and have been seen in the Destiny universe before. In fact, the Vanguard's entire journey in this game retreads either the Red War, Forsaken, or Season of the Haunted. This isn't inherently a bad thing, and what makes something unique and special lies in the execution and the context, and both of these things shine here thanks to the reunion of these characters. The character voice actors in Destiny have been as ever evolving as the world itself, and for the final shape is arguably the most important time for this to land. In a bittersweet twist of fate, the final shape sees Nathan Fillion return as Cade 6, but we also have a recast of Zavala due to the passing of Lance Reddick. And while if they had to recast with anyone, Keith David is absolutely the best bet, and in any other situation these two together are a perfect pairing. You just can't help but question what it would have been like, but also feel robbed of not hearing Lance deliver these lines. But the combination of Nathan Fillion, Mara Junot and Keith David is a powerhouse, and I only wish we got more time with them.
Final shape is coming.
We also need to talk about the Witness, as Bungie hasn't given this big bad the time to really develop ever since its first real introduction in the credit scene for the Witch Queen. Lightfall, we got a bit of a sense of what his plan is, but never actually anything on the person itself, and while I appreciate the 80s style of horror monster mystery to the delivery, we needed a lot more. And more is exactly what we got, as Brett Dalton nails the role along with the script for the character, and in a short space of time, so many unanswered questions from years of build-up are answered, and the tone of existential dread in the performance easily making the Witness one of the strongest characters in the game. The final shape adds a new subclass for every class of Guardian. Warlocks get a new Solar Super, Titan's Void, and Hunter's Arc. While I've only played the new Arc Hunter Super, I can't speak for the others just yet, but from what I've seen, they're very much needed additions to each class. But the real talking point here is Prismatic. Prismatic is something I don't think anyone thought Bungie would ever pull the trigger on, a subclass that combines all the lesser used aspects of every element and rolls them into a new one, in a new exciting creative way that completely flips the way you play the game on its head and brings a whole new level to build crafting in the game. Allowing the player to combine a light subclass ability with a darkness powered melee and triggering multiple buffs and abilities that synergize with different weapons and fragments is absolutely my favourite addition to the franchise Bungie has ever delivered. But the mix and matching isn't the only new thing Prismatic adds to the game, it also comes with a completely new gameplay loop to gain Transcendence, which is not only a damage buff that can be extended by just simply doing damage and using abilities, it adds a new grenade to the mix that's unique to each class and each are a fantastic addition to the Guardian's ability arsenal. With how strong Prismatic is, the only downside I currently have is that I have no need to use any of the other builds for my other classes, especially now with the introduction of the exotic class items which allow for 2 exotic perks at once and opens Prismatic even more, which, okay Bungie, you can relax, you can rest now. The endgame for the final shape is exactly what players have come to expect, interesting post-campaign missions given by characters both new and old, and offering new exotic weapons and armor, but also a new raid and a post-raid clear mission, as well as a new 2-player exotic mission. For this next bit I actually lost the raid footage, but don't worry, you're not even going to notice. The Salvation's Edge raid is now seemingly agreed upon to be Destiny's hardest raid to date, with encounters and mechanics that don't allow for a few Guardians to be carried by the majority of the group. Salvation's Edge is an interesting mix of enemy density, simple button presses and the hardest raid mechanic of any raid, as well as some of the best level design in Destiny to date. After the world's first raid race found its winner, a brand new mission opened up for players that served as the ending for the Final Shape campaign and also being Destiny's first 12-player mission. Excision is without a doubt one of Bungie's best missions to date, as it's not only bookended by some of their best cutscenes delivering story beats that stick the landing for the narrative of Destiny's first saga, seeing 12 Guardians work together for the first time will keep you going back at the weekly reset just for the fun factor alone, something the core Ritual playlists have lacked for a long time. Delivering even more with Dual Destiny, a 2-person exotic mission in the same vein as legendary missions known as Whisper of the Worm and 0 Hour, Dual Destiny needed a very specific community mystery to be solved before being unlocked. This mission reintroduces exotic class items to Destiny, giving players 64 different exotic perk combinations to grind for. A last-minute twist to the standard fare of these missions gives Dual Destiny its place next to Whisper and 0 Hour as the franchise pinnacle of endgame content. As with every new expansion since Shadowkeep, Bungie has launched a new season alongside its yearly expansions. These are now called episodes, and the differences stop there. With a promise of change from the same tired old seasonal model, Episodes Echoes Act 1 fails to deliver on that promise with the same menus and upgrade paths on previous seasonal models still at the core. It's an unfortunate missed opportunity with the same drip feed story content and similar activities, and the same ideology as a handful of new weapons and reissued old ones. A chance to bring about the real change the community has been begging for wasn't taken here and ultimately brings the experience of the Final Shape crashing back down. The story of the Echoes episode focuses on the Vex and is seemingly trying to position them into having a place where the Vex can have an actual interesting antagonist to the Guardians by giving them a sense of individuality. And while not off to the best start, the idea of a hive mind suddenly having individual personalities is probably the only route Bungie could take the Vex, but unfortunately it hasn't had the best foot put forward. Bungie's reality of subpar and uninteresting seasonal activities for the first seasonal release of an expansion is still here in full force, so here's hoping that Revenant and Heresy are substantially better and can stand toe-to-toe with previous seasons like Arrival's Seraph and Splicer.
But now, we end it.
So, let's answer the question, has Bungie done enough with the Final Shape? Destiny is a game that I've followed since its announcement on February 20th, 2013, and a game I've played since its release in September 9th, 2014. I've stuck with this franchise throughout the incredible highs and insane lows over the years, all because I knew after playing Halo that Bungie has the talent and ability to make something special, and there were always glimmers of that, and because there was nothing else quite like it. I think it's pretty fair to say that Destiny over the last 10 years has never been the most consistent with storytelling. From its Frankenstein narrative beginnings to franchise-saving expansions such as The Taken King and Forsaken, if there's one thing Bungie is consistent with, it's pulling out all the stops and sparing no expense when the chips are down. The Final Shape on its own, excluding the episode that's included in the basic version of the game, for me might just stand above the likes of Taken King and Witch Queen, setting the new standard I will come to expect from Bungie in the future for its next saga, whatever that ends up being. This expansion acts as a therapy session, not just for the characters but also the players. It gives the Vanguard a moment to deal with the past trauma and a chance to finally say goodbye to Cayde 6, and that same chance is given to the player through a trip down memory lane that reminds you of exactly why you played this game all these years, with its industry-leading gunplay, fantastic music and level design. Ultimately though, behind the scenes issue both entirely out of and in Bungie's hands can take you out of the experience, as Michael Salvatore's last beautifully written score serves as a reminder of the mishandling of the studio from Bungie's upper management, but also the recasting of Zavala due to Lance Reddick's passing, two giants of the game that are and will be very much missed. But even with these issues, the final shape delivers on its promise to round out the Light and Dark Saga with Bungie's best and most emotional cutscenes. Both Nolan North and Nathan Fillion as Ghost and Cayde 6 respectively give their best performances to date, delivering an ending worthy of a 10-year promise.
You're my favorite. Don't ever forget that.
Unfortunately, the same tired seasonal model is here to stay, it seems, and a stark reminder of what drives people away from this game, and without an announcement of what's after the 3 episodes, it's hard to want to stick with the game for any longer than you have to once you've done everything the final shape has to offer, with the only reason for me is to at least give these 3-act structure episodes a chance, but they're only getting the 1 and it's not off to a great start. But something drastic needs to change in order for me to buy into the episode seasonal model, and while I appreciate that they're going to be experimenting with dropping all the beats of an act all at once for the 2nd episode, I don't know if that's going to be enough. However, Destiny is a game I think I'll always play, whether that's every day or once a year with a new expansion is yet to be seen. It's just been too big a part of my life to drop entirely. So as usual everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you liked the video, maybe drop a like for the algorithm or even a comment. Let me know you got this far and what you thought of the final shape as well as Echoes Act 1. Hit that subscribe button, I'll no doubt be making more Destiny content in the future, so maybe click the little bell to make sure you don't miss out on that. But any and all support is always greatly appreciated for this little channel we're growing here of ours. So with that, I'll catch you in the next video. Enjoy your day. Peace.